Okay, welcome back to my channel. This is just another quick read for you. I don't use this deck very often, not because I don't like it, just life gets busy, but Queen of the Moon Oracle is what we're looking at, and this is by Stacy DeMarco. And so I will read some of the elements here through the book, just because, again, it's not a book I'm familiar with, but I do think, when the time is right, we get the right read. So again, this is for whoever this resonates for. It may not speak to all of you at this specific time, or it may be something of an energy that you're moving into in the coming weeks. But either way, you're all on different timelines. So this is for Libra, November 2023. So the top cards that I pulled out, and I have to say for the month of November, it looks amazing because we have the Hunter Moon Abundance. We also have the waning Gibbons self-reflection, as well as the last quarter moon, gratitude, and the final waxing crescent, the path. And of course, these are cards of 6, 5, 8, and 2, basically 11, 11, or whatever. But either way, it's all about balance. There is some changes that you have made on the front in terms of your gratitude, or you're starting to move into that area. So starting off with the abundance card, obviously this is clearly something that is advantageous to you that's coming through. And I do have a clarifier below here as well. But whatever this abundance is that's coming in for you in the month of November, I will do a tarot reading as well further out for the month of November, but this is just what I'm seeing right now. So, but the abundance that's coming through clearly is helping to create balance in your world. It is creating some sense of a new foundation for you that you feel that you can spring from. So take advantage of this period is basically what the card says, because this is a time of abundance that you can relish in. This is something that you can build from. I feel at this time in November, you're going to be feeling a lot more open. There's a lot more receptivity going on, and there's certainly something around there in regards to really taking a hard look at yourself and the things that are around you and the things that make you happy. I feel like this is like it's not just a time where you're starting to feel like you've got certain things in control, and certainly handling the finances better, all of those things, but it feels like it's in around your inner self as well as those around you, because there's a period here of you're developing more so within yourself with the self reflection, and then, of course, with the clarifier of growth. And that's helping to put you into a place of power. So I do feel like you are feeling a lot more centered. You're feeling a lot more resourceful. And I feel like you're also in that space of seeing the things that are advantageous around you that can help you to grow or build. That includes people, and again, financial resources, however that comes, toward you. Maybe you're creating a better environment for yourself. But either way, there's something here that does show some sense of, getting your needs met anyway. And this, again, could be as far as, people around you being a lot more forthcoming, wanting to be involved in your life, that kind of thing. It just feels like you're just open to a lot more in the coming month here. So for November, sorry guys, my throat. Okay, moving on. So we also have the card of self-reflection. So I do feel like this is, again, actually maybe it will bounce down here because I didn't really go through all of that. With the card of abundance, as I did mention, I mean, that is something that is helping to balance you out. So again, you do feel like you're in a space where you can actually find some sense of peace, something that you can build on, something that's useful to you, something that you can make your decisions. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to have to drink the coffee. Hold tight in a second here. But anyway, you're seeking to maintain more harmony and balance, and that's in, as I said, creating more abundance in this month for you. So again, with the card of balance, I mean, this is, feeling perfectly balanced in terms of, or feeling more in line with, yourself. More things are in flow. There's not a lot of overreaction. There's not a lot of extremes, because you're really feeling much more grounded. And this is going to give you that foundation to rise from. So this is where you're building your strength from in this month. Very important for you just to, again, stay in that flow and in that balance. This is where you want to find your inner peace this month. I do feel like, again, things that you thought were maybe impossible for you to achieve, this is really not where you're finding that you can go forward with a little adjustment. And again, we do have adjustment in how you perceive things and what you're grateful for. But, again, it's just making those little adjustments moment to moment that help you to find the balance and create a better foundation, like I said, because you're making decisions based on self reflection. So you're actually going inward, you're finding some resources here within yourself to be able to deal with the chaotic world around you, or the things that you felt were overwhelming you previously. You now have answers for, because you're seeing how you identify in the world. You're not doing things too fast, you're not eating too much, you're starting to be honest with yourself. And I just feel like you're in that place where you can, uh, what you seek is coming through, because you're finding the wisdom to look for it. You're using wisdom, you're finding books, you're finding answers within the resources around you at this time. So you're really focused on that this month. You're not over, you're not really pushing yourself to any extreme, because you're all about trying to keep things in a better space. Also, the card of, 8 here, of course, is definitely in around that same space. um where you're actually, things kind of come full circle with the 8. And that is something that I think is really important for you, like I said, because this particular month is where you're actually starting to see some growth, not just in yourself, but I feel in the things that are around you. But again, the 8 is more of a balanced number, and it's really about, having a lot more action. I shouldn't say action, but a lot more power. And your energy in this space is a lot more magnanimous. Like you're completing things, or you're starting to do things that give you more courage to go forward. It's that kind of feeling. And it is, again, just period. 8s are all about progress. So that's something that's, and the progress seems to be in the area of your self reflection. And again, it does represent sort of that infinity cycle. So you're kind of recycling things, you're traveling that path, and you're able to, find, there's progress in a particular cycle that you've been in. So whatever cycle you've been in, I just feel like you're advancing here. So there's a lot more trust within yourself, that you're able to move through body patterns, mental switching, switching from anything that is has been difficult. This is where you're able to switch that out, because you're now on moving along that journey in these key points. Okay, so getting back into, again, that self reflection card, definitely a card of growth and resilience. I do feel like you're in that space where you actually have some well being and development. You're developing new beliefs, you're developing new ways of looking at the world and what you are and what you want, those kinds of things. And you're able to sort of steer or navigate yourself through this course. But you're starting to look at things not just spiritually, but there's more of a practical way of looking at things and how to apply it here as well. So I feel like you're reacting more about, if you're taking a look at how you react to things, and you're taking a look at your strengths, your weaknesses, and you're making the changes, the necessary changes at this time, because you're pulling yourself out of some kind of sense of chaos. And again, this is where you're benefiting primarily in this month. And that's bringing you a lot of balance, and it's bringing you a lot of growth, and it's bringing you a lot of abundance. And there's more, again, coming in for you this month. I feel like this is where you're not especially extroverted at this time, but I just feel like you're in a space of kind of recommitting to yourself, where you're kind of recording and making, how do I say that? Um, Taking a look at your patterns, and taking a look at the things that, are useful, and of course not useful. But it's okay to be imperfect, obviously. I mean, there's something I was reading, actually, in a book that I thought was relevant to this particular subject. And it was actually along the lines of building the life that you want. And this is a fellow that was working alongside um, Oprah Winfrey. And what I liked about what he had to say is he was someone who was dealing with a lot of depression and that kind of thing, and how he sort of pulled himself out of these things. He said it was more of a biochemical thing that he dealt with. It's not something that, he could sort of avert because it's something that he had to go through. But again, it was carried on through the line, a sense of depression, and how he pulled himself out of that, because he found that a lot of people, he's actually a educated man with teaching at Harvard University. And I should throw that out there too. They actually have courses, free courses on the Harvard University site on, being happy or doing different things. Anyway, not just that, but he, in fact, did speak, did teach about happiness. And that was because he absolutely was not somebody who was, immediately happy. He had to learn how to be happy. So it's not something where a lot of times we have people just say, just don't think about the problems, just try to work through it, keep going. But a lot of time, then some people will say, just continue to rehash the issue. And that's not necessarily the route you want to go either, because when you're spending too much time in any one area, not taking action, you're not able to really build the life that you want. So you're trying to find ways to be more confident and more certain with your life. And that, by virtue of exploration, self exploration, then we can figure out our life with purpose and meaning, that kind of thing. But he said a lot of people would just come up to him and say, oh, just be happy. Put yourself around, do happy activities. But when you're really not happy, you don't feel like doing happy activities. You don't feel like being around a lot of other people, and we tend to pull back. So he was constantly, or obviously, dealing with a lot of sadness and anger and that kind of thing. But the book that I'm referencing here, in case any of you are interested, sorry, I'm just trying to grab it here, was Build the Life You Want by Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah Winfrey. And it's just the science of being happier and that kind of thing. But he found that he was happier when he was teaching about happiness. And so it helped to solidify the knowledge for him. So he actually started out by creating a mission statement for himself, where he dedicated his work to lifting people up, bringing people together. He believed in the bonds of love, he believed in happiness, and he was using science and ideas and inspiration and kind of, incorporating all of the psychology, neuroscience, philosophies, all of those things together to be able to. So he did it for himself from an educated academic background versus Oprah Winfrey, when he, was able to work alongside her, that became more a mass media. So, but the purpose was the same. I mean, they both were, committed to helping people to, find a better, happier time in their life, or find, how should I say, you know, they were basically on the same mission because they both had a sense of investigating happiness and trying to, help other people to overcome and become more resilient, that kind of thing. So, anyway, what he was basically saying is that he started adopting habits of the happiest people that he would analyze. First off, he'd analyze himself, he'd look at his patterns, look at himself day to day, how he reacted, what were his triggers, that kind of thing. And then he started dedicating himself to lifting people up. Like I said, creating that mission statement, which he read, and he was able to find more happiness because it solidified the ideas when he taught about it in an academic sense and in researching himself. That, just by virtue of being exposed to it on a regular basis, immersing yourself in it, made him happier. But it was also about setting up, like I said, those experiments. And he also created a gratitude list, which is what I'm seeing here for you this month. And that gratitude list, could be walking around. I believe it's called a meditative labyrinth. For some people, that could be something that's very therapeutic, where you're just walking in a circle. You can set something up in the backyard or in a, with rocks, that kind of thing, and you just meditate. Other times, it's actually sitting down to actually meditate and listening to maybe binaural beats. But a lot of times, people say binaural beats when it's music that is overlapping, with focus music, or music on study, or music on happiness or healing, that kind of thing. Binaural beats is one of those things that sort of incorporates all of that, because we are trying to tap into a frequency. And so our frequency has to match that frequency and able to draw it toward us. And I was also listening to something around another Teal Swan. She's really interesting person that deals with spiritual psychology. And she was actually talking about how, we're in a place now in our lives where a lot of people are facing areas. in life where we have to try to deal with our fears. Everyone seems to be faced with our fears, and they're actually even saying that in the research in this book that I was referencing, Building the Life You Want, people are actually on the increase for being less happy, and dramatically so, especially the younger generation. So we really have to focus on healing ourselves to heal that younger generation. And there's a story I'll tell you about that in that book as well. But again, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but again, when you face your fears, and that's what we all seem to be forced to do, is face our fears, so that we actually, so whatever you were ignoring before, life is throwing it in front of you right now, and that's some kind of shift that we all seem to be forced to undergo right now. Our lives are in some kind of flux. There is some kind of significant change, and it's about how do we adapt, how do we get to the core of ourselves to empower ourselves, because we can't always control the external circumstances. Of course, it's easier to say yes, you can just control your own reaction, but how do you do that in a successful way so that you feel like you're still hanging on with some sense of dignity and strength, all of that. But either way, he does reference, some of the obvious, that he still has bad days, and he still has a long way to go to get through, levels of happiness, but he's becoming more comfortable with those bad days. And he's finding out ways how to grow through them, and how he knows now, of course, as we all do, those rough times will be coming, but he's less afraid of them now. And so because of that, when he looks back on his life when he was 35 or 45, that kind of thing, he rarely saw joy in his life. And so he was also looking to the future with that same sense of in the moment unhappiness. But when he actually, at the age of 59 now, he's looking at his life and he's saying, I am actually happier, which I could never have anticipated when I was 45 or 35 or 45. But now at 59, I'm actually happier because I'm teaching that secret to others, he says. And it's not about, it's not about being, he feels that it was more of a privilege to be able to talk about something that he was able to research through academia, like I said. And because he's now in that space, where he has more level of, has a stronger level of pursuit, like he's more driven to take control of his day and put his focus on the things that encourage him. This is also where, he also kind of, I know I'm bouncing again a little bit here, but what he also made reference to was that, when people say, I want to be happy, they don't necessarily know what they want to be, what they want as happiness. He says people are starting to lose touch with that. They weren't sure what makes them happy. Sure, they might say, yeah, I want to lose a certain number of pounds, or yes, I want my family to be happy, or yes, I want to own a car or a bigger house or whatever it is. But he says overall, most people couldn't really articulate the way that they wanted to be happy. They didn't really know what it looked like. And so what you're looking for is something that has more resilience. When you buy something or you eat something, that's sort of more in the moment, kind of satisfaction. But you want something that's going to be living life with purpose and deeper meaning, because when you grow, as Anthony Robbins says, when you grow, we actually feel more happy, more connected to ourselves, connected to life, and less anxious. So again, there's something here that he also speaks to. It was a woman that he references, which I'm not sure if she was a relative of his. I'll get right back to the reading here, guys, in a couple of seconds, but I'm just kind of pulling it out here because the book had some really kind of interesting things to say. But he says you're looking at the pillars of your life. That's your foundation. So what are your family? What's your family look like? What are the areas you can build on and grow? What do your friendships look like? What are these are the pillars. What do your friendships look like? How do you want to see those change? What do you actually have control over? In those situations, how can you be a better friend, that kind of thing. Take a look at your work situations and your faith. Those are the four pillars really that we build on. And that's where you need to take a look at how to improve your happiness. So, but like I said, he made a reference as well about, people, when they did a study, it was an American study, but When they did a study, he said people felt that they weren't too happy. That rose from 10% to 24%. And those suffering from depression increased dramatically, especially among those young adults. Like I said, so very happy even fell from 36% to 19%. And this is more recent. So, anyway, he was talking about, you're not fixing your life, but you are looking for ways to sort of build on those moments where life is hard. And that takes practice, effort, patience, that kind of thing. But it also, he made a reference, like I said, to a woman, Albina, and how she sort of dealt with her life and what her secrets were. Life is constantly in crisis at some point. You will find yourself that you're distracted by those moments. And so what he found is there was a woman, like I said, Albina, and her story, he says that she changed her perspective, and I think she was 96 years old or something to that effect. But she learned that, she wasn't naturally happy and she wasn't coming from, perfect life. She felt sad just like everybody else, and she didn't pretend that the suffering wasn't happening. But she was also getting older and she was losing friends. She was sick herself. Things were scary, things were painful, that kind of thing. But she wasn't blocking out those realities. What she did do, however, is she was able to believe that happiness was out there, and she didn't want to try to change the world. But her problems on the outside, extended from things that could have been anything from bad luck to other people influencing her in a, with bad behavior, that kind of thing. So even though she couldn't change her circumstances, again, she could change her own reaction. She could, the way it's referenced in the book is that she couldn't change, how the world was going to treat her, but she could look at the way she was feeling about the world. And so it was more like getting on with business, basically. So she looked at the things that, that were rough in her life. She had a husband leave her. Her father was imprisoned for many years because I guess it was during the war times. And he was, a surgeon during that time. So anyway, I don't know all the circumstances around that, but she basically points out that, life was not everything that she had dreamed it would be. But she did start to be the CEO of her own life, and that's how she empowered herself. And so she did this by switching the wishing to how do I control my life by what are the things that I can do. And so she became a teacher. She was helpless before in a lot of ways when her husband left her in deep poverty, that kind of thing. But it was the decisions that she made that really transformed her life. And so that created productive, emotions and more positives and a more positive state of mind. So things got better with practice. And again, she always kept her focus on the four pillars, which again, family, friendship, work, faith, that kind of thing. And how she did it was, again, she decided to, like I said, she went back to school. She became a teacher, and it wasn't easy. People were a lot younger than she was when she did go back to school, which I think was in her 50s or something like that. The progress was not immediate, but because she practiced every single day, of course, eventually all of that led to a happier time. But again, nothing was automatic. So, and I know this is stuff that a lot of people already know, but most of it is about, you don't wait until you're happy to be able to move on things. You have to do it in all states. When things are at its hardest, you still have to be productive. And of course, the best way to do it is eliminate the distractions. So whether you're angry, sad, lonely, or you want your luck to change or your finances to improve, whatever, it still revolves around, being more of your own boss, being the CEO of your life, be the hero in your story. You're not taking an observing position, but you have to know yourself well enough to get to those points and to understand how to fix your life. So if you know all the things that you react to, you look for ways to trigger yourself less. Do a little research on that, to start with. But it's always about finding knowledge that you can use, not just build knowledge that it's not practical for you to use. So again, it's just a little tidbit of information there, but I just wanted to let you know that, happiness is about constructing, I guess, a better map for yourself. So again, it's that you want to create an instruction on how to use the information that you're learning and gaining. You have to be able to put it into practice and repeated practice, because it's not about willpower, although willpower at certain points is a part of that. But when let's say a child is ill or there's an accident in front of you, Your first instinct would be to do what? Take a look at the things that motivate you, and that will help you to sort of fix your life and, help others as well. Because life is going to be hard, but you have to be able to function in all states. So don't sit around waiting for, I'll be motivated when things are in this way, when I have everything going in this way. Do something for an hour or whatever each day, and then the progress again will be slight shifts that eventually lead to the bigger message at the end of things. And I think we get focused on things, as well, when when you come to it. You don't realize necessarily what you want in life until you sort of come to it, until you're exposed to it. But that still takes doing and action. Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'll quit preaching. All right, so getting on to the card of gratitude, which all sort of, built around that as well. So it's about self-reflection. It's about examining the ways that, help you to sort of recap the important things for you. And it's also about, quiet time and taking a look at your own reactions and recording how you felt every day, or all the things that you want to change in your life. Start with the small things, and then eventually, small shifts lead to big shifts. So, again, you want to look at your feelings of vulnerability. What are you angry about? Self reflection is all about what you're defensive about. What do you feel guilty about? And how can you heal that? So, healing that short term pain, will bring about a long term gain. So, it's taking a look at the things that are standing in your way, and it's always ourselves, because we are the ones that, there's plenty of people that went through different wars or went through different crises and lived in the street and still were able to pull themselves out. And it usually takes an extreme amount of focus and getting past the actual pain. So it's taking growing yourself through self responsibility. So again, you want to be able to deal with the short term pain, because it will have more gains in the long term. So, self reflection, this is where you're really starting to see where you're empowered, and this is where you're starting to build your own resilience. And of course, it does follow with the card of power, which again, really amazing, strong cards this month. So I just feel like you're really getting to know yourself. And I feel like you're really going to be able to make some differences in what's important to you this month. It's about possibility. When you come into a place of power, this is about finding out how to take the initiative, stepping into your true power, drawing more attention to yourself. And this is where I feel like you're headed, because you are doing the work on yourself, and you're able to attract things, in this energy. So this is going to be allowing for larger possibilities coming into you. And again, it's because you're releasing an old story, releasing an old mindset or a belief system that you thought to be true. Yes, the world is hard, but what are you going to do about it? You still have to find the hope in it. You still have to find the possibility. And the only way to do that is by you changing constantly, renewing yourself, transforming yourself, recognizing your own power and moving to the next step, because that is your future self. And so the present self has to be the future self in a lot of ways, and that only takes, it takes the path of, the direction, that you are trying to fix. So in other words, how do I put that? If you're trying to understand yourself or understand someone else, you do the research, and then that leads you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. You don't have to know all the answers. It's like going up the stairs. You don't always know where the stairs will lead, but you are still taking one step at a time. You are still following the path. So again, your needs are being met in this month, both emotionally, you're very balanced. There's a lot of growth, and it definitely feels like things are illuminated here for you, because this card represents the waxing crescent. This is the path. This is a courageous step forward, and you're much more open to things, and that's why you're able to grow. So it means that you're accepting things about your path, you're accepting things about yourself, and whatever things were burdened or dark in that forest sort of energy, or that felt unknowable, you're still moving through that fear. You're no longer paralyzed by it. It's almost like you've dealt with so much of the shadow that you actually are okay operating within the shadow, because you know that it can't always stay shadow, that there will be moments of light, there will be a clear path ahead. I also read another book that referenced something along that line, that was in around the idea of, you know, when you close your eyes and you open, from waking, all of a sudden it's a new day, it's a new start. But when you close your eyes at night, it's a restful period, but we don't really know what's going to happen in that sleep state. But when you wake up again, it's a whole new day. It's a whole new moment. And so you clearing your head in a sense, really, and everything comes from that darkness first before we see the light. So we do need the balance of both. So it's okay that the path isn't visible because it's more of an invitation to don't just stand there, take the next step, move forward. And that is where things will be. You're moving out of the darkness into light. And then there may be another patch of darkness, but it's okay. You already have the lessons down here. And of course, it's going to lead you to a path of purity. So this particular card really speaks to, you're really looking for the simplest solution here. You're trying to simplify your life. You're trying to understand your own motives. You're really trying to understand those of others as well. And why do people do what they do is less of a, you're understanding more about why they do what they do, and you're still able to move through that and create, boundaries. When I say boundaries, it doesn't mean stopping yourself from interacting with people, but knowing when things go too far and pulling your energy away so that you're not taken down the same rabbit hole. So this is where, you're communicating with more of a clear sense of what you want. It's also about doing things from a very moral place and really having a better sense of any of the extremes. So you're not in that space of wanting to go into any radical position. You're really trying to find a very simple way of dealing with life. You're, looking for the clean waters, what the card sort of speaks to. You're looking for clean water in a mountain stream, and the purity of that one single purpose. What is a way to clean your space, clean your head space, clean your the pollutants or the things that were damaging your environment? And you're looking for the way to just keep it simple and prepare, because you are in a survival mode of sorts, but you're also more open to see things with more of a positive purity. And again, it's about being clear when you communicate. And so there's fewer miscommunications as well in this month. And so I feel like because of being clearer in the way you deal with things and having a better understanding, there's less, issue around jealousy or, any of the lower vibe kind of motivations where there's people are not understanding their reasoning around things. But again, the self reflection is what's bringing about this period of growth. And that's where the change is taking place, especially when we're looking at it as a five. So there's a lot of good energy here. Um, and when we also look at the card of growth, I mean, this one is you're getting on with things. There's no more stagnancy. So this is where there may have been some growing pains, but you're definitely making huge changes in your life. And that's kind of a natural part just to keep you pushing forward. And you're trying to, the changes around not just self, but it's also about your aim and your purpose. And you're choosing to think of the willow tree and the fact the willow tree is very strong, shiftable kind of tree in storms. It adapts to the wind and the storms. It's not taken down. It's guys just interfering phone call. But it's also about, flexibility. So, and that's what's helping you in this period. You're being a lot more flexible about moving forward and establishing those roots is what's really helping you to find your way. But again, you're really in a good space of getting yourself out of any kind of imbalance or trouble, that kind of thing. Like I said, I mean, this is that space of, you when you understand, the card speaks to when you understand your current position, you accept it, and then you decide to change, and then you naturally grow as a person. So this is again deep transformation and blossoming into your true self. So the final card out is, I'll get right into that. It was underneath the card of power and underneath gratitude is pleasure. You are definitely in a space where there's going to be something that's, sorry, incoming call again here, but you're in a space where you're going to be looking at, I'm not going to take life too seriously. I'm not going to live too intensely. I'm going to be a lot more lighthearted in how I focus and the things that make me happy, and going to do some activities. So I feel you're going to be doing more activities this month that do make you happy. And again, sort of simple little pleasures, because I feel like, life was kind of in an overwhelming space before, but you're letting go of a lot of that energy. And I feel like you're handing over the stress to a space where you can only control what you can control. So I feel like you're just immersing yourself in joyful activities and really starting to enjoy that positive spiritual connection, that positive space. Working on your healthier mind, body, spirit, that kind of thing, and really looking at how to develop yourself and what makes you happy. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of it for uh, this particular group of cards. Anyway, I will do the tarot for you as well for November. But like I said, you've got abundance coming in, and things are definitely moving in a better direction. So, and thank you, Jose. I saw your message there. I'll do some more cards here, like I say, for the with other tarot decks, and I did want to, of course, do the regular um, tarot deck that I tend to do. But anyway, I just wanted to do a couple of oracle reads here for you. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight for what's coming in for November. November looks to be a very powerful month for you. And like I say, it looks like you're actually going to have some level of happiness coming through. Anyway, stay safe, keep moving forward, and never give up.